Damaging testimony tonight for the man accused of killing an off-duty Norfolk police officer.
Officer Victor Decker was shot and killed in 2010 near a nightclub off of Oceana Boulevard in Virginia Beach. This past summer, 21-year-old Raymond Lewis Perry was charged with murder. 10 on your side's Ava Hurdle just got out of a 2-hour preliminary hearing and joins us now with the latest. Ava?
Nicole, we heard from witnesses, inmates who admit they want to get their time reduced in exchange for their testimony. Witnesses who placed Perry not only at the scene, but one said he confessed to the crime. Perry's family had no comment as they left the courthouse. This after 4 witnesses, 3 inmates and a former cellmate, said Perry was involved in the robbery and shooting death of Officer Victor Decker. Decker was off duty at the time. In an interview, Perry claimed his innocence, but a cellmate said he confessed, and Perry's attorney questions the credibility of those witnesses.
Versions of events that they are providing, and that's going to be key for the jurors to decide whether they believe these witnesses or not. Have they changed their stories? Have they told inconsistent stories in the past? Have they given different names of people present, different numbers of people present, that kind of thing?
Now, after hearing all the evidence, a judge sent this case over to the circuit court for trial. For now, Perry remains behind bars. We're live in Virginia Beach. Ava Hurdle, 10 on your side.
And in his first public appearance after last night's debate, Mitt Romney campaigned in Hampton Roads. With just 20 days to go before the election, both candidates are still trying to win this battleground state. Governor Romney spoke to a crowd of about 3,500 at Tidewater Community College. And 10 on your side's Ann McNamara has been covering this campaign stop all day. After a big debate last night where the president really came back hard, what did Governor Romney have to say today?
Well, Tom, if he was tired, we couldn't tell. A very energized Mitt Romney spoke for 25 minutes. As expected, that speech focused mainly on the economy, but it also had a special emphasis on female voters and on the military. A very confident Mitt Romney walked onto the stage with his sleeves rolled up, ready to get to work. First order of business, last night's debate.
Now, I have to be honest with you. I love these debates. You know, these things are great. And I think it's interesting that the president still doesn't have an agenda for a second term.
Romney referenced the undecided voters who asked questions in the town hall format. College student Jeremy, who needed a job, Lorraine, who asked about immigration reform, and Catherine, who asked about equal pay for women in the workforce.
This president has failed America's women. They've suffered in terms of getting jobs. They've suffered in terms of falling into poverty. This is a presidency that has not helped America's women.
But Romney, who has recently pulled ahead in polls of female voters, did not lose sight of what matters most to this audience.
To me, jobs. Absolutely, jobs. Everything else will fall into place if we can just get the jobs back.
Would our veterans and members of the armed services please raise your hands and be recognized?
Governor Romney took a moment to recognize members of the armed forces in the audience. Romney is against across-the-board cuts to the military, but says most of the new jobs he plans to create will come from the private sector, not government.
And if you have a small business, I disagree with the president. If you have a small business, those of you who work at a small business, you built that business yourself. Government didn't build it for you.
We've heard that one before. Romney bringing it up again. He believes that's one of his stronger points, small businesses. He says he's a champion of small businesses. New at 5:30, you'll hear what voters in the audience today thought about the speech. Republican voters. You also hear from local Democrats why they say this location, Tidewater Community College, is an ironic one for Governor Romney to choose. That's new at 5:30. We'll see you then. For now, live in Chesapeake, I'm Ann McNamara, 10 on your side.
Post-debate, President Obama was also back on the campaign trail today. He spoke at a rally at Cornell College in Mount Vernon, Iowa.
So let's recap what we learned last night. His tax plan doesn't add up. His jobs plan doesn't create jobs. His deficit reduction plan adds to the deficit. So Iowa, you know, everybody here has heard of the New Deal. You've heard of the Fair Deal. You've heard of the square deal? Mitt Romney's trying to sell you a sketchy deal. We are not buying it. We know better.
Friday morning, President Obama will hold a rally on a Virginia college campus. The president is holding a grassroots event at George Mason University in Fairfax in Northern Virginia.
Investigators say a short circuit started a fire at the Old Pines Treatment Center in Portsmouth. The flames began in the kitchen area overnight and spread into a wall, then into the attic. The building on Portsmouth Boulevard is no longer occupied, but a security guard monitors that property. Police in Norfolk are still asking questions about a crash that killed a man last night on West Little Creek Road near Colonial Avenue. Detectives say that's where Christopher Tonnett lost control of his car before hitting a telephone pole here. Rescue crews took his front seat passenger to the hospital with serious injuries.
A police foot pursuit in Hampton ended without an arrest. It started around 10:30 on Kickotan Road near Pear and Apple Avenues. This was breaking news at midday. We're told an officer was chasing a suspicious person. K-9 units helped in the search, but police never found that suspect.
The husband of former Virginia Beach Mayor Myra Oberndorf has died. City officials tell us Roger Oberndorf passed away from complications of a brain injury. He was 75 years old. The funeral service is set for Friday morning at 11 at the Virginia Beach Chapel of H.D. Oliver and Sons on Laskin Road.
In the next 2 years, a new toll road could ease some traffic congestion. The new 460 from Petersburg to Suffolk would be an alternative for freight. VDOT will commit up to $930 million. The Virginia Port Authority will contribute up to $250 million for the route. Public money would come if the Federal Highway Administration approves at least $248 million in loans. The state estimates this fall will create 4,000 construction jobs and 14,000 long-term jobs. The new 55-mile, 4-lane road will open in 2018 and will run next to the existing 460, which will be an alternative route without tolls.
Well, his legacy appears to be going downhill. New tonight at 5:30, former Tour de France champion Lance Armstrong has denied accusations of doping for years, and now he's hitting bumps with the charity he founded and a major sponsor.
A tale of two local neighborhoods. Some residents are afraid they'll smell sewage. Another is worried about the sewage that backs up in their yards. 10 on Your Side is looking into those concerns.
And what firefighters found inside a Colorado bar after they put out the flames.
And to look at temperatures throughout the area, again, the eastern half of the United States, still a little coolish today. It was basically around 68, 70 degrees during the afternoon for today. What's going to be for tomorrow? Warmer, but then some bigger changes. We'll tell you about that with our forecast.
You're watching Wavy News 10 at 5 with Tom Shad, Nicole Rivas, and Super Doppler 10 Chief Meteorologist Don Slater.
Fire officials and police in Denver call this a mass murder. Firefighters responded to a strip mall around 2 a.m. and after putting out the fire, they discovered the bodies of 4 women and 1 man. Investigators believe the victims were killed before that fire started, which did not do a lot of damage, by the way.
A Florida judge set June 10th as the tentative trial date for the man accused of shooting Trayvon Martin to death. George Zimmerman, a neighborhood watch volunteer, claimed self-defense and is pleading not guilty. The 17-year-old Martin was unarmed. Attorneys will be back in court Friday for a hearing on several issues, including a defense request for more time to interview state witnesses. A Philadelphia man wasn't going to let a carjacker get away with his van. Take a look at what happened Monday at a gas station. Police say the suspect pumped gas into a stolen vehicle, walked to the cashier booth as if to stand in line, then hopped into another man's minivan and tried to drive away. That's when the driver of the minivan turned and tried to stop him by reaching into the vehicle, but the suspect fled and the man was dragged for several feet. He was not hurt. Police found the van, but the suspect got away.
Well, not much damage, but some rattled nerves in New England's northernmost state.
The whole building is shaking. I thought a trailer truck was going to come pulling through. Beers are rattling around on the cooler shelf. I mean, that was about it. It scared me quite a bit, and as well as the other customers that were here. I thought something blew up.
No, just a 4.0 earthquake outside Portland, Maine. There are no reports of major injuries or damage. And by the way, the last time New England felt tremors was last year when the Virginia earthquake sent rumblings up and down the East Coast. And many didn't know about earthquake safety when that 5.8 tremor shook Louisa County last year. Well, here's a chance to learn. The Great Southeast Shakeout Drill. It's set for 10:18 a.m. Governor Bob McDonnell's encouraging all Virginians to participate. Experts say the best reaction to an earthquake is drop, cover, and hold on. Drop to the ground, take cover under a sturdy desk or table, and protect your head and neck. And hold on to it until the shaking stops.
Is the HPV vaccine safe? That's the question parents have asked since the CDC recommended it for children 11 and older. We're on your side with results of a new study on the side effects and safety of the vaccine.
And a lot of people would love to live in this waterfront home, but the people who bought it are raising eyebrows with their new neighbors. We'll tell you why they're worried. Well, some people in Hampton have some serious concerns about their new neighbor.
The Hampton Road Sanitation District bought a nearly $500,000 home along the waterfront. HRSD says it may need that property. Neighbors tell 10 on your side that's what they're worried about. Stephanie Harris joins us now with more. Steph?
Tom, Nicole, no one ever wants something like a sewage pump in their backyard, but HRSD told me it may be the only way to keep another neighborhood from wading in actual sewage. Almost every day when Emily Collier takes her walk, she stops to admire this beautiful brick colonial along the water.
My husband and I dreamed about possibly owning it.
She had no idea the new owner is the Hampton Roads Sanitation District.
I feel sorry for the people that are living right across the street from it.
Those neighbors and others are pretty upset. HRSD could put a sewage pump on the property.
I used to live near one over in Norfolk, and it could get pretty bad sometimes.
Aaron and Christina Scott fear their property value will plummet. Another neighbor who's passing out this information sheet reminds residents of 3 Hampton homeowners who sued HRSD and the city over a sewage pump. It states HRSD was not forthcoming then and, quote, "We worry about suffering a similar fate."
I feel like, they really haven't been too upfront about it.
HRSD General Manager Ted Hennepin was out of town, but told 10 on Your Side a pump station is one option being considered, but they won't have a final plan for about 2 years. He said it would likely be built inside the existing home or another structure that looks like a house. And if it's built right, smell won't be an issue for neighbors on this side of Chesapeake Avenue. But if they don't do something, it will be an issue for people living on the same street in Merrimack Shores.
Oh, the water was almost up to my knees.
Former Mayor Jimmy Eason lives here and says every time there's a hard rain, sewage backs up. Neighbor Kevin Shea couldn't even get into his own home a couple weeks ago.
It was sewage. It was very nasty, dirty smell. It was a sickening smell.
So it may come down to this, a sewage pump on this block or sewage period on this one. Now, all HRSD would say about the other lawsuits I talked about in Hampton is that they are very different situations. All right, now neighbors also wanted to know, why did HRSD buy the property if they aren't even sure they're going to build there? Well, Hennepin told me it was for sale now, so it was a good time to buy. They're going to lease it out to a family until a decision is made, and if they don't need it, they're going to put the house back on the market. Stephanie Harris, 10 on Your Side.
Now, your Super Doppler 10 forecast with meteorologist Don Slater.
Nature pulled back the cover and we got the sunshine back.
Yeah, it was gorgeous today.
Yeah, we had a little bit of cloud cover this morning and a little thin cloud cover during the day. But
Yeah,
basically,
not bad.
yeah, not bad. We warmed on up pretty nicely. And we are looking for a cool night, but then we're going to warm up even further. Want to show you what's going on with what is hopefully the last hurricane or tropical storm or anything else that might be out there. It is now post-tropical. It's really kind of gotten wrapped up with some cooler air into the Atlantic, and it's just motoring on away, moving very, very rapidly. There's Norfolk, there's Hatteras, there's New York City, and here is again Raphael. Now, it was a hurricane, and it's still got hurricane strength winds, but it's moving rapidly and it's moving over colder waters. So again, it's falling apart very, very nicely. It'll likely do a little bit of a loop-the-loop out into the middle of the Atlantic. So again, it's not threatening anybody. And as far as waves out of this, we could see 4, 5, 6 foot waves rolling on in. So surfers, especially today and tomorrow, might still see a little bit of action on it. But this thing is moving on off into the Atlantic. So again, we're not concerned about it at all. What's happening for us? It's going to be even warmer for tomorrow. I think we'll see our skies clear off for a time overnight tonight, and during the day tomorrow, we'll start to see some cloud cover move back on in, but not totally clouded over. There's where we are tomorrow morning at 7. A light east-southeasterly wind at 10 miles an hour, becoming east-southeasterly at about 10 miles an hour in the middle of the day tomorrow. Some sunshine, some cloud cover. Here's where we are by 7 o'clock. South-southeasterly winds at 10 miles an hour. Now, we're going to get this? Well, yes, we are. But it's going to happen in the middle of the night. So, yes, there may even be a rumble or two of thunder for some of us. There could be strong thunderstorms toward the Lynchburg area, perhaps even as far as east as Richmond during the evening hours. But then it's going to start to fall apart. The heat of the day is gone, and this weak cool front dropping on in. Here's where things are at 4 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock on Friday morning. Are we done with it? Well, the front kind of staggers and falls apart right over the top of us. There are all kinds of little impulses lifted northward, and we could see another area of showers, maybe a rumble of thunder during the afternoon coming up on Friday. Severe weather out of this is not real likely. 10 to 15 mile an hour winds by the end of the day. Now, we're going to end up with a beautiful sunset tonight with these high, thin clouds that we've got over the region. Here's a look at what we've got going on, and again, some cloud cover, but still mostly sunny. It's into the mid to upper 60s, low last night, very chilly. High today, 68 degrees in Norfolk. Some inland areas did warm on up to 7 and still are at 70 degrees, but most of us are at 68, 70 degrees for a high temperature for the day today. Here's where conditions are right now: 64 in Chincoteague, Wallops Island, 64 at Kill Devil Hills and Virginia Beach, 68 in Newport News, 72 right now into Franklin. So again, very, very pleasant, mild day. Cooling off again during the overnight hours. Not quite as cool as last night. It'll drop likely on down into the low 50s. Some inland areas could drop on down into the upper 40s again during the overnight hours. During the day tomorrow, we all warm up. 72 for a high. Some sunshine and some cloud cover during the day for tomorrow. Now, as far as rain, if we see rain, it's going to happen overnight, Thursday night into early Friday morning. We could see a few showers again coming up on Friday during the afternoon hours. Highs then around 75 degrees. A little cooler coming up for the weekend. 68 then 70 degrees, and we'll warm back on up into the mid-70s, low to mid-70s for Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. We are looking again at some cloud cover to move on in tomorrow. We can see a stray shower or thunderstorm coming up tomorrow night. Quiet for Friday morning, then a slight chance of rain again for Friday during the afternoon hours.
A possible medical breakthrough: how something in some vegetables could help treat cancer.
And a one-night armed robbery spree on a Virginia college campus. More on the crimes and the suspects. New at 5:30. Another good reason to eat your vegetables: a compound derived from veggies like broccoli and Brussels sprouts may help treat an aggressive form of breast cancer. Researchers who developed this experimental vegetable source compound say it fights several types of cancer, including triple-negative breast cancer. It accounts for 15 to 20% of all breast cancers. It grows faster, spreads earlier, and recurs more often than most others. Researchers say someday it could be available in pill form.
A new study is answering questions about the safety of Gardasil, that controversial HPV vaccine. It's been a topic of debate ever since the CDC recommended all children get the vaccine starting at age 11 to prevent cervical cancer. Researchers from Kaiser Permanente looked at the records of 200,000 girls and young women who received Gardasil. Researchers found those who got the shots were 6 times more likely to faint the day of the vaccination. That's about 24 out of 1,000 people. They also found patients were about 2 times more likely to experience a skin infection in the 2 weeks after the vaccination. Other than those 2 minor symptoms, the researchers did not find any other safety concerns of significance.
The HPV is protective and that it is generally a good thing to do and a safe thing to do for your children. The bottom line was that it is beneficial to give your child the HPV.
I decided to get it because it was for my own good.
HPV is the most common sexually transmitted disease. There are more than 40 types that can infect men, boys, girls, and women.
Okay, an accident zone for iPhone users. We'll tell you where you are most likely to suffer damage.
And new tonight at 5:30, we're hearing from one of the Virginia men back home after spending several days missing in frigid temperatures in Montana.
Ever stop and ask yourself, what is the most dangerous room in the house for my iPhone? Well, somebody already has. Warranty provider Square Trade surveyed smartphone users and found more than half of all iPhone accidents happen in the home. Number 1 room, the kitchen. The living room is next, and the bathroom round out the top 3 rooms for iPhone accidents. The bedroom appears to be a safe place. The research found owners are 10 times more likely to break their iPhone than to lose it or have it stolen. So if that happens, get in line at the neighborhood Apple store, and invitations are out for a special Apple event in California. There's strong speculation that Apple will introduce a smaller version of its iPad as the iPad mini. Instead of the current 10-inch screen size, the Mini is rumored to be about 7 inches, about the same as the e-readers. Also rumored, updates to Apple's PC line, including the new iMac and Mac Minis. Microsoft is also set to officially present its new operating system, Windows 8, next week. And by the way, Christmas is coming. Right now at 5:30, listen, 24 hours after a debate battle, Governor Romney returns to battleground Virginia.
Now, from the station on your side, this is Wavy News 10.
I think it's pretty clear that when it comes to his policies and his answers and his agenda, he's pretty much running on fumes. And the American people want some real answers and a real agenda, and that's why Paul Ryan and I are going to become the next president.
Governor Mitt Romney back in Hampton Roads as Decision 2012 inches closer. Governor Romney made a campaign stop in Chesapeake where he spoke to a crowd of 3,500 at Tidewater Community College.
This was his first public appearance since last night's debate. 10 of your side's Ann McNamara was there. Ann, what did he have to say today?
Well, first of all, crews are breaking down the set where Mitt Romney was earlier this afternoon. There were about 3,500 people here, as you mentioned, and Mitt Romney really focused on the economy. When we asked people in the audience, what's the #1 thing you want to hear about, they all said jobs, or they said the economy, or they said both, and Mitt Romney knew that, and of course he's re-energized after two strong performances in the debates, first in Denver and then of course last night at Hofstra University. Mitt Romney said he wanted to capitalize on that energy and on that enthusiasm today in the crowd. He spoke specifically to female voters. There was a campaign video that played even before he took the stage that focused on Ann Romney, that focused on female voters. He also spoke a lot about the military. He said that he understands the sacrifice of people here in Hampton Roads, military families, and of course he is publicly against those across-the-board cuts known as sequestration that are on the table. So Mitt Romney really knows that the last 20 days is when he has to ramp up this campaign and make sure he gets those final votes.
I'm counting on you. We have 20 days. I'm going to do everything in my power to get America back. I need your help.
I've always felt like he had a lot of energy, but seeing him in person is unbelievable. I mean, he's the real deal. If we don't elect him, we got a problem in this country.
I think it's ironic that Governor Romney would come on a college campus and give this speech when his policies and plans would do nothing but hurt students here in Virginia.
That was Portsmouth Mayor Kenny Wright. Of course, the other side of what we saw today, the other side of the reaction. Many people here today, the audience, heavily Republican, and so they did support Mitt Romney and most of the things he said. But that's the opposition, and it's kind of interesting. If you ask people about last night's debate, you say who won? Well, last night's debate was one of those closer ones where it depends on which party you ask who won. And we're going to talk about that more at 6. We're going to talk about what Mitt Romney specifically mentioned that he said last night in the debate and what he left out when he spoke today here in Chesapeake. Live, I'm Ann McNamara, 10 on your side.
Critics say President Obama's performance at last night's debate was stronger than the last, but Governor Mitt Romney held his own. The candidates came out aggressively, at times circling each other in heated conversation.
Not true, Governor Romney.
So how much did you cut him by?
Not true.
Both President Obama and Governor Romney interrupted each other, clashed, and accused one another with not telling the truth on the issues of taxes, jobs, energy, women's rights, immigration, and the attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi. The final presidential debate is Monday at Lynn University in Boca Raton, Florida.
A Harrisonburg man says he found several voter registration forms in a dumpster. Rob Johnson says that he saw someone throw a bag into his store's trash on Monday and then spotted the forms with people's personal information like social security numbers, birth dates, and phone numbers. Johnson said it's not just an identity theft issue.
Those 8 or 9 people may not know what happened, and imagine how they're going to feel the day on election day they go in to vote and their name's not on the list. I'd be a little bit ticked off.
Johnson called police to pick up the forms.
Puppets are getting political. More than 1,000 puppeteers and public broadcasting supporters have signed on for a march on the National Mall in Washington 3 days before the election. It's being called the Million Puppet March. This comes after Governor Romney said during a presidential debate he would call for the elimination of funding for PBS, which airs Sesame Street. A developing story out of New York City.
Federal authorities arrested a man they say was plotting to attack the Federal Reserve Building in Manhattan. Now, that is just blocks away from the World Trade Center site.
Authorities say 21-year-old Quasi Nafis parked a van filled with what he thought was explosives outside New York's Federal Reserve Bank and tried to detonate it in a suicide mission. He got those so-called explosives from undercover FBI agents.
Federal authorities say they monitored the plot extensively and there was never a danger that it would be carried out. City, state, and federal authorities are keeping a close eye on the cleanup of an oil spill in Hampton. Crews initially thought that they could contain the spill to the site on Minji Drive, but Monday's heavy rain did not help. Today, authorities said the oil spread through a series of connecting ditches and made its way to New Market Creek and the Gordon Cooper Bridge on Power Plant Parkway. Now, the major work should be done in about a week or so, but cleanup crews won't be done with the job for a few more months. Investigators say the spill was an accident caused by a hole that formed in a rusted tank.
Police arrested 4 suspects in a series of armed robberies on or near campus. The first victim says he was walking into a campus building at around 10 last night when a robber threatened him with a gun and stole his wallet and his phone. This is Virginia Commonwealth University we're talking about here. Detectives say 2 more people were robbed 10 minutes later, about half a mile away, and another victim was robbed of the same items in the same area 10 minutes after that. Several hours later, police arrested 3 men and 1 woman. Police and rescue crews are searching for a 12-year-old boy who fell into a rock quarry in Prince George County. Police say 3 kids were playing around the quarry when the boy fell into the water, which is about 16 feet deep. The temperature was about 45 degrees. Investigators say kids frequently play in the 35-acre quarry.
And we're hearing from one of the Virginia hikers rescued from frigid temperatures in Montana's Glacier National Park.
We're just relieved to be back, back with family and friends, and we have the rescue teams to thank for that.
Now here's some video of Jason Heiser and Neil Peckins touching down in Richmond yesterday afternoon. Park rangers say the experienced hikers had the right equipment and they used their outdoor skills to survive for several days. The 2 men rationed food, collected firewood, and signaled for help with a smoky fire and an SOS message made out of logs. Heiser is from Richmond. Peckins lives in Northern Virginia.
I know that there's a lot of questions about what went on, but right now it's kind of a time for family.
A park employee saw colored flagging on Monday afternoon that led him to a tent and the hikers.
19 people have now died as a result of contaminated drugs, apparently from a New England compounding pharmacy. Criminal health investigators from the Food and Drug Administration raided the New England Compounding Center in Framingham, Massachusetts, outside Boston Tuesday. Contaminated steroid medications from the company have been linked to a national outbreak of fungal meningitis. Most of the victims had received steroid injections to treat back pain, but investigators have widened the scope to include other drugs made at the New England company.
Family members of those killed in the Colorado movie theater shooting filed a lawsuit today. Hear what they say the theater did not do that could have saved several lives.
And a look at the thin cloud cover that remains through the area. We're going to have a beautiful sunset coming up. Sunsets around 6:25 this evening. We saw a warmish day. Yesterday it was around 65. Today was in the upper 60s to around 70. We're going to get even warmer than that coming up for tomorrow. We'll tell you all about that with our forecast.
That whistling noise comes from that little boy every time he breathes. And it's not because he has a cold. We'll explain why coming up new at 5:30.
You're watching Wavy News 10 at 5:30 with Nicole Livas, Stephanie Harris, and Super Doppler 10 Chief Meteorologist Don Slater.
A group of victims from the shooting spree at a Colorado movie theater is suing the theater and surrounding mall. Their lawyer says the theater was aware of the possibility of violence but failed to have an alarm system. He claims that made it easy for alleged shooter James Holmes to access an exit door during the Batman film and to go get his guns. The attorney also alleges once the shooting started, theater employees did nothing to help the people inside.
They came to a movie, this big premiere. They thought that they would be safe, and they had every reason to believe that they would be safe.
You do kind of wonder about, you know, the ease at which this was able to happen.
12 people were killed, another 58 injured during the midnight screening of The Dark Knight Rises in July.
Wildfires are forcing people in California to leave their homes. The blaze that sparked this morning near Santa Barbara in the Los Padres National Forest has grown to 50 acres. On the ground, firefighters are trying to protect homes and buildings by turning a hose on the flames. The cause of the fire is still being investigated. Officials think fallen power lines are to blame. A practice run for the USA yacht racing team ended with the entire crew in the water. Here you can see the 72-foot boat flipped over in the bay near the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. The crew was able to swim back to a nearby pier. Then they had to head back out by boat to pull the $10 million vessel to shore. Fortunately, nobody was hurt.
There's a story that's going to make you say, oh dear. Surveillance cameras were rolling at a South Carolina gym when it got an unexpected visitor. Watch this. The glass door was closed when a deer tried to get in. The animal ran straight into the glass and bounced off. It didn't appear to be hurt and came back for a second attempt before running away. Must be a really strong door, and he must have really wanted a good workout.
Yes, he wanted in.
Maybe a Zumba class or something.
Well, here's a noise that you never want to hear your child make. He's not being silly. That's 7-year-old Hector Flores Jr. from New York, and his parents thought that he was playing a trick on them, but it turns out he wasn't. He actually swallowed a whistle from his plastic toy duck nearly a month ago. His family took him to the emergency room, and doctors were able to remove that whistle from his lung, but his parents were happy they didn't have to hear that noise anymore. Goodness.
Yes. Well, he is stepping down from the agency he founded. Now his biggest sponsor has cut ties. Tonight, the latest on Lance Armstrong amid those doping allegations.
And will the Postal Service be able to afford gas for their delivery trucks? Find out why they could run out of money sooner than they thought.
For years, there have been rumors about his use of performance-enhancing drugs, but today, those accusations became a bit more costly for Lance Armstrong.
The allegations have also pushed the controversial cyclist out of the top spot in his foundation to help cancer patients. NBC's Jay Gray has details.
The long and controversial ride for Lance Armstrong has taken a dramatic turn. The champion cyclist and cancer survivor today stepping aside as the chairman of the foundation and wildly popular Livestrong brand, which raises millions of dollars every year for cancer patient support services. A statement from Armstrong on the organization's website reads in part, "To spare the foundation any negative effects as a result of controversies surrounding my cycling career, I will conclude my chairmanship." That controversy has now also affected Armstrong's status with a longtime sponsor. Nike announced today it will take his name off of its workout facility at corporate headquarters and end a relationship of more than a decade. A company press release says, due to the seemingly insurmountable evidence that Lance Armstrong participated in doping and misled Nike for more than a decade, it is with great sadness that we have terminated our contract with him. Nike does not condone the use of illegal performance-enhancing drugs in any manner.
And that's why Nike said this is a sports problem, this is a cheating problem. No longer, after 10 years, they finally cut ties with Lance.
Anheuser-Busch also announced it will not renew a contract with Armstrong that expires at the end of the year. It's the latest fallout from a 1,000-page report released last week by the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, which implicates Armstrong as the ringleader in a massive scandal.
The U.S. Postal Service's pro cycling team, including Lance Armstrong, ran the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful drug program that we've ever seen.
Performance-enhancing drugs that Armstrong used extensively and shared, according to testimony from 11 of his teammates. Armstrong has continued to deny using PEDs, but faced with the latest report, said he would no longer fight the allegations. Instead, it now seems the fight has turned to one of public relations and corporate survival. Jay Gray, NBC News.
Armstrong will remain a board member at his foundation.
He steps down as chairman just days before the organization's high-profile fundraiser in Austin, Texas.
Now, your Super Doppler 10 forecast with meteorologist Don Slater.
Well, that was kind of a downer. How about some cheerful thoughts?
Beautiful day today,
Yeah,
right? We got to
cheer
see
you
the
right up.
sunshine. We have our orange on.
I don't.
Hey,
Did you not
where's
get the
your
memo?
orange?
You didn't get the memo.
No, I didn't get the memo. They
Hey,
don't
we
exactly.
won the
Pumpkin
pumpkin
day.
contest.
Woohoo.
We won. We won.
We need pictures.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Look on our
We need
Facebook
pictures.
pages. Yeah.
Okay. Send me pictures. I'll put them on the air.
All right.
Yeah, they don't exactly make a lot of orange suits from guys. Here's a look at what's going on. Super Doppler 10 live, no rainfall. Skies are mostly clear. So we look at temperatures, and really that's going to be the big thing going on. You can see 66 degrees right now in Norfolk. We saw highs generally around 68 to 72 degrees during the day for today. There's a little warmer air out there, and that's going to be drifting eastward, as is this cool front. You can see showers and thunderstorms into St. Louis, approaching the Chicago area as well. Pardon me, and a little bit of thin cloud cover over our part of the world. Now, that cold front is going to be strengthening, but then it's going to be weakening as it moves on toward the East Coast. Here's where things are over the next couple of days. You can see some of that rainfall approaching tomorrow night, late after midnight, in a gigantic area of low pressure right on into here. It's going to get stuck into place, and it could throw a few more showers our way coming up on Friday afternoon. But the big thing is it's going to be even warmer coming up for tomorrow. Again, you saw those temperatures right now, basically into the mid-60s to around 70, some thin cloud cover over the area. Here's what's going on at 9 o'clock this evening. Light southeasterly winds at 5 to 10, 10-mile-an-hour winds tomorrow during the middle of the day. And again, a little bit more cloud cover, but some sunshine too. Not a bad day for tomorrow, especially as we warm on up into the upper 70s for the day tomorrow. Here's where things are for the day on Thursday. Cloud cover begins to move in, and there's where we are by 4 o'clock in the morning Friday. You can see again some scattered rain at 4 o'clock in the morning, but it falls apart. This front is not real strong by Friday, but it's strong enough so it'll kind of linger in terms of a little wind shift line out there that could kick off some stray showers and thunderstorms coming up on Friday afternoon. So we're not going to be rain-free, but it's not likely to really dominate over the next couple of days. Some thin clouds over the region right now, and skies are mostly sunny. We're going to end up with a beautiful sunset, mostly sunny right now. It's basically around 65 to 70 degrees into the region. There's our low last night. Will not get quite as cool as that overnight. High today, 68 degrees. Some inland areas still around 70 degrees in Franklin and Williamsburg, for example. So again, very mild day. A little cool again overnight, but not as bad as last night. Dropping on down into the low 50s, some upper 40s into some inland areas. Then during the day tomorrow, we'll see sunshine, cloud cover, warm day, 77 degrees for a high temperature coming up for tomorrow. And again, it looks like any rainfall should stay well on off to the west during the nighttime hours. But then late at night, we're likely to see a stray shower or thunderstorm tomorrow night, kind of in between the cracks there. And we'll see a stray shower coming up on Friday. A little cooler for the weekend, warming back up again next week.
Well, fall is a beautiful time of year. Leaves are turning and that hot weather is starting to settle down.
So why not take a trip? Tonight, we have the top destinations around the world.
And I'm Tom Shad. New tonight on Wavy News 10 at 6. The man accused of killing a Norfolk police officer 2 years ago faced a judge. For the first time, hear what police say led to his arrest. Then, last night, we told you about Portsmouth's former fire chief, how he got a new job with the city. Well, tonight, hear where the money is coming from to pay for that new position, all beginning at 6. Keep it right here.
The cash-strapped U.S. Postal Service cannot borrow any more money. The independent government agency reached its $15 billion debt limit in September, and its cash reserves are running reportedly dangerously low. Now, to run its business, the Postal Service can only borrow money from the U.S. Treasury, as opposed to private banks. However, Congress has barred the Treasury from lending it more than $15 billion at a time. USPS reported a more than $5 billion loss for the quarter that ended June 30th.
Here's some proof that the housing market is bouncing back. In September, builders started construction on homes in the U.S. at the fastest rate since July of 2008. According to the Commerce Department, builders broke ground on more than 800,000 single-family homes and apartments in September. That's a 15% increase from August. So what's pushing the growth? Experts say record low mortgage rates probably have something to do with it.
Well, hopefully they're building those homes a little bigger nowadays. According to a new survey, almost a third of homeowners expect their grown children or aging parents to eventually move in with them. About 1 in 7 say they already have at least one relative who's moved back in with them.
Maybe with all those people in the house, you need to get out of town. Today, Condé Nast Traveler magazine released its list of top tourist destinations in the world. Charleston, South Carolina. Ooh, I was there last month. That topped the list. The southern city welcomes more than 4 million visitors a year. Cape Town, South Africa, and Florence, Italy were ranked number 2 and number 3 choices.
I'll take any of them.
Yeah, I would love to go to Italy. Still to come on Wavy News 10, a big surprise for a local teacher.
To do something that you love and every day, and then to get this, it's just awesome.
Hear how she was recognized for her hard work at the local school.
Oh, look how happy she is. And after last night's debate, Governor Mitt Romney made a beeline for battleground Virginia. Hear what he had to say to swing voters in Hampton Roads.
Hello, check 1 2, check, 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 check.
Hey, if I need to come up this way. Yeah, actually stay out of the sun. Take it right there.
Test check 1 2.
There's a picture of like a little kid on it too. It's kind of a creepy shot.
Test 1 2 3 4.
Thank you.
Watch this, a big honor for a local teacher today.
The Milken Educator Award goes to Lakeisha Ames.
I just love how happy she is. Ted on your side was there as Lakeisha Ames was given a $25,000 Milken Family Foundation National Educator Award. The 4th grade teacher at Churchland Primary and Intermediate School learned about the award in a surprise announcement this morning, obviously. The honor is given to educators who promote excellence and innovation in public education. Ames, as you can see, could not believe it.
I'm animated, so they're animated, and they love learning. I love it when they catch a concept. And if it's just one student, they get it. I know I've done my job, so it's just awesome.
As well as being a 4th grade teacher, Ames serves on the school's improvement team. She also coordinates staff development presentations to help keep all of her co-workers informed about current educational trends. Congratulations, Ms. Ames. Tonight at 6, the man accused of killing a Norfolk police officer faces a judge.
Now, from the station on your side, this is Wavy News 10.
Nearly 2 years after he was killed, police got a break in the case. Tonight, why they charge Raymond Perry with killing Officer Victor Decker. Plus, fresh off the debate, Governor Romney heads for Hampton Roads. Tonight, you'll hear what he said to Virginia voters, and the fallout continues over the rehiring of the Portsmouth fire chief.
That's $98,000 plus benefits that's being wasted.
Hear how some city council members plan to make sure residents get that money back. But first, it's been nearly 2 years since Norfolk police officer Victor Decker was killed.
And today, a suspected killer faced a judge. Raymond Perry was in court for a preliminary hearing. For the first time, we learned why police arrested him in Decker's death. 10 on your side's Ava Hurdle was in the courtroom. She joins us now from Virginia Beach. Ava.
A cellmate said that Perry confessed to killing Officer Decker during a robbery. This after another person with him, Alveda, hesitated. That former cellmate told the court that Perry and another guy were out to rob someone that October night and settled upon Victor Decker, not knowing he was a Norfolk police officer. There, along Oceana Boulevard, the witness testifying Decker apparently said no to the robbery. The guy with Perry apparently hesitated, and Perry allegedly shot the officer and robbed him of a wallet. Pretty much the same story from another cellmate. 2 other witnesses now in jail both said they saw Perry in the area.
That I'm not guilty. I didn't kill Mr. Victor Decker. I don't know Mr. Victor Decker, period.
But in a jailhouse interview, Perry claimed he's innocent, but prosecutors are trying to prove otherwise.
It's not unusual, really, in many criminal prosecutions to have to use people who have already been convicted, who have sentences or sentencing pending. We're used to dealing with that. Assessing their credibility is ultimately up to a judge or a jury.
Perry's family declined comment as they left the courthouse, but his attorney called into question witness credibility.
Versions of events that they are providing, and that's going to be key for the jurors to decide whether they believe these witnesses or not. Have they changed stories? Have they told inconsistent stories in the past? Have they given different names of people present, different numbers of people present, that kind of thing?
A judge found there was enough evidence to send the matter to trial. And tonight, Perry remains held behind bars. He has another court date set for next month. We're live in Virginia Beach. Ava Hurdle, 10 on your side.
Thank you, Ava. And Perry is facing life behind bars if convicted of first-degree murder.